Good evening. I call the 2,375th meeting of the Milwaukee City Council to order. This meeting is being held in person at City Hall and by video conference. The public may participate in this meeting by coming to City Hall or joining the Zoom webinar. The meeting is being broadcast live on the city's YouTube channel and Comcast Cable Channel 30 within city limits. There will be opportunities for the public to speak during this meeting. If you would like to address council, you may come to City Hall. If you are interested in speaking, please let staff know by filling out a yellow comment card for those at City Hall or emailing ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov for those on Zoom. When it is time to take public comment, staff will monitor the comment cards, email inbox, and Zoom participant list and chat. We will take comments in the order they are received and seen. Again, written comments may be emailed to ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. Spanish translation services are available upon request. The public is asked to request translation and other meeting accessibility services at least 48 hours before the meeting. Contamos con servicio de traducción al español cuando sea solicitado. Se pide al público que solicite servicios de traducción y otros servicios de accesibilidad para reuniones por lo menos 48 horas antes de la reunión. Translation services are also available in other languages. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The City of Milwaukee respectfully acknowledges that our community is located on the ancestral homeland of the Clackamas people. In 1855, the surviving members of the Clackamas signed the Willamette Valley Treaty, also known as the Kalapuya etc. Treaty, with the federal government in good faith. We offer our respect and gratitude to the indigenous people of this land. All right, I will proceed to our announcements. There we go. The city's annual board and committee recruitment is now open. These official volunteer groups cover a variety of areas and projects. Applications will be accepted until April 1st. And I should note, since we have a number of MHS students in our audience, that we do take students on our committees too. So do think about applying. You can serve on one of our committees if you're interested, and that website will tell you what they are. I won't try to name them all here. City Manager Ann Ober will hold the next open door session on Friday, February 24th from 9 to 10 a.m. here in the City Hall Council chambers. No sign up is necessary. Stop by to ask questions, raise concerns, or just find out more about what the city is doing. The Milwaukee Historical Society, the City, Ledding Library, and Willamette Falls Studios will present The Counselors on Wednesday, March 1st at 6 p.m. at the library. Special guests include former counselors Shane Abma, Kathy Heisey, and Wilda Parks. If you can't attend in person, a Zoom option will be available. Save the date for Johnson Creek Watershed Council's most unified restoration event of the year, the 25th annual Watershed-wide event on Saturday, March 4th from 8:45 a.m. to 12 p.m. Volunteers will spread out as 10 work parties at 10 work parties throughout the watershed. Volunteers are asked to RSVP to participate. And I will note, there's a new site they're doing this year, which I'm very excited about. And unfortunately, I will be out of town and will miss this. But there's a new green space area that the Parks District owns along Johnson Creek, just east of Milwaukee, before you get to the Fred Meyer. And it's kind of an unknown park that no one's really been able to see. So it'll be a cool site to go work at. Save the date for the repair fair at the Letting Library on Saturday, March 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This free event brings together skilled volunteers and people with broken items. Bring your small electronics, small home appliances, clean clothes and textiles, bicycles, tools, or knives that need to be sharpened, and jewelry. For more information about these events and others, please visit the city's homepage at milwaukieoregon.gov or call 503-786-7555. I also wanted to highlight this, talk a minute or two about Carefree Sunday. So when I first came to Milwaukee, when I first got on the Milwaukee City Council in 2015, we were trying to do, Portland has a thing called Sunday Parkways, where they close a bunch of streets and people can ride their bike, they can skateboard, they can walk, they can scooter, whatever method of transportation they want. It's closed to cars and they have a loop and it usually connects a few parks. And we did 2 years of that in partnership with Portland. They did a Sellwood, Milwaukee Sunday Parkway, and we learned a lot from working with the City of Portland on that event. But it was only a 2-year thing because they don't do it in Sellwood every year. They move their events around. And then after they were no longer here to work with us, we started having our own event, which we rebranded as Carefree Sunday. We had one event, really popular, successful event before COVID, and then it kind of shut down with COVID, and it didn't happen one year, and then it happened in an altered form another year. It came back last year. Unfortunately, it came back on a day that it was like 98 or 100 degrees. And so it ended up having to be shut down early because of the heat. It's also a very costly event for the city in terms of what it costs. So we are having trouble getting the support together to run Carefree Sunday. And I think that there are probably people out there that would like to see the event continue. And so I wanted to put this slide up there and this contact information for the city staff to contact if you have a business or organization that would be interested in helping sponsor the event. We would love to have your support so that we can put this event on, and it will be in May this year. We're moving it up to avoid the heat problem. So Carefree Sunday. All right, with that, I think we're done with the announcement kind of stuff, and we will ask Principal Kellogg to come up with her Student of the Month. And this, well, I won't try to pronounce the student's name because it's a tough one. Ty isn't too hard, but the rest of it's hard.
Kai Shea Kaliohi.
Okay, Kai Shea.
Thank you. Well, I am honored, as I always am, to talk about any of our students, and we have such wonderful students at our school. And Kai, I've just recently gotten a chance to start to get to know Kai, and Kai is amazing. So one of the pieces before we start into this is the criteria for Student of the Month, just so that I'm really clear with that, is that I want to bring students that have contributed something to our community within school or the broader community, that they strive for academic excellence or activities or just that passion area, and that they've overcome obstacles or they're showing growth or thriving. And I feel that Kai is doing all of those pieces. So one of the parts that Kai is a senior, Kai has a 3.8 GPA, has taken more than 6 AP classes. And when we're looking at, she's editor-in-chief of the yearbook. They've worked with Chris Haberman, who does all the murals here. And you also have some of your artwork that is, that you're selling at Made in Oregon. And then, so that's all happening. Kai works at Milwaukie Bowl and has had 3 different jobs, and last year working 2 at a time. And And then kind of more of those future plans, looking in, going to CCC, more of an electrician or a theater technician, kind of using those skills. And also Kai has the opportunity when they turn 18 to intern with a professional sculptor, Tyler Fuqua. And so kind of that work in Milwaukie. So lots of opportunity for growth and to explore their craft. And I'm excited for that. We also brought some of Kai's artwork, and I just wanted to show you some of that and have Kai tell you a little bit about kind of what we have here.
Yeah, this is one of my first pieces on my AP portfolio that I'm gonna submit later this year. And the one on the left is a mock-up that I was doing. I kind of like shot up in the middle of my sleep and I drew this on my phone. And then the one on the right is the finished product that is hanging up in the Milwaukie Arts Building.
Nice.
So when Kai had this up there and I was looking and we met again today because I wanted to go through kind of the art and I'm like, that's, I had the picture. I'm like, that's one of my favorite pieces in there. And I'm like, I just took a picture of it last week. And I'm like, so I had it on there and we were able to take that off the phone.
And you sure know how to do more with your phone than I do. I couldn't do that with my phone in a million years.
You want to talk through what these pieces are too?
The one on the left is one I did in Art 3-4 last year with Fell's class. It was a landscape project, and it's more of a see it your own way kind of painting. Like some people see trees, and my interpretation, I see towers and stuff like that with strings connecting them. And yeah. And then the middle one is, it's going to be in the yearbook, the Milwaukie 2023 yearbook. And as you guys know, I'm a co-chief editor. And this is one of my pieces that will be in the the first thing you open up. It's the first thing you see when you open the book. And if you can see on the right, above the middle section, it says MHS, and that's the building, the new building. Mm-hmm. And then on the bottom, there's the arts building sign. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere else, there's the the old building too. There's a picture of the old building hidden in there.
Is it the top right, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yep.
And then the last one, it's a piece that I was doing when I was really into Basquiat. And you can see the influence in the crown and stuff like that. But yeah, this is another one that I'm submitting for my AP portfolio.
Great.
So the talent that is there, and then there were other pieces that we didn't put in here, but they're all in the Performing Arts Building. And just, we were looking at photography, we were looking at different media of the displaying the art. So I wanted to share, as I always do, kind of some comments that staff have made about our students. And let's see, I don't have my glasses on, so let's see how well I can do with this. Okay. It gives me great pleasure to celebrate Kai and all their achievements. Over the past 3 years, I've taught Kai online and in person, as well as in multiple classes. They are a creative soul with much to say and express. Their love for music and art shines in everything they do. Whether they're painting, doodling, doing photography, or just going to the local house punk show, Kai gains so much from their energy in art and music. For Kai, creating and being around art is vital as water. Kai has also been in yearbook for the past 3 years, and this year working closely with the editor-in-chiefs. Kai's creative fingerprints are all over the 2023 yearbook, and it is in its unique, fun, artsy, and very punk rock yearbook with a DIY Zen quality, which is everything Kai loves. We are confident the student body will also find it a very cool, one-of-a-kind yearbook. That was Michael Fell who gave that comment. And then for Dan Lee, he's one of our social studies teachers, an AP. And so I had Kai as an AP US history in 11th grade and government in 12th. Kai is an incredible, talented writer. And their essay and APUSH were among the best I've received last year. Even when discussing issues they feel strongly about, Kai is able to see others' points of view and include others in the conversation. Kai cares deeply about the welfare of others and is both aware and involved in social issues that affect many groups of people in their community. Over many lunches and in the 2 years, Kai and I have been able to talk about music, games, part-time jobs, art, and going to college as a whole variety of topics. Throughout the course of the conversations, I am sure that I have learned as much from Kai as they have learned from me. That was Dan Lee. And then Miss Barrett. Kai is a creative, kind, focused, determined student. Kai excels in both their core academic classes and in many art classes. Kai has a quiet, calm strength that is a welcome presence in all their school spaces and beyond. Kai is strong, self-advocate, and a supporter of others and a skilled communicator. I've enjoyed working with Kai throughout high school, their high school years, and I'm excited to see where Kai goes next. They have created and followed their own path, seeking out opportunities to grow and expand their many talents and strengths. Kai is going to shine in their next educational space and will be an inspiration to those around them. And I would second that with all of us, and that's from Ms. Barrett, counselor. So I know Kai is not one that doesn't seek out attention or the spotlight, is kind of that person who brings people together, but this award is well-deserved, and we're here to celebrate you. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys for any questions you have.
Okay. Well, Kai, it's great as always. The principal brings some really well-rounded students with a lot of different talents and different, good student, good artist, good community builder. Those are all wonderful talents to have at the high school and on beyond. I'll turn it over to other counselors to say a few things and potentially ask you questions. I will just ask you what got you interested in yearbook in the first place, and how has giving, I'm very impressed that you're kind of remaking the yearbook, and how did that come to you, can you talk about that?
I started yearbook. I don't really remember how. It was during online. I had the yearbook class in sophomore year, and I really liked it. And I knew a couple people in that class, and I really wanted to be like them. So I took it the next year, and I was really good at it, and I wanted to be more integrated into the process. So I became an editor my junior year and my senior year. And my junior year, I was working with my friends who were seniors, who were the chief editors, and they were so much fun. I knew they were working really hard on the book. And last year, the book turned out really, really well. And I just wanted it to go well again this year.
Well, I was yearbook editor back in the dark ages when I was in high school. And so I'm always interested to see the ways yearbooks have evolved over the years. So I'm counting on the principal to let me know when there's a copy I can come have a look at. I'm really interested to see what you've done with it. So with that, I will turn it over to other counselors.
I'll go. When the mayor made yearbooks, they were done on mimetic. You don't know what that is, but trust me, it's funny. It's funny to the older people up here. You're a really good artist. Can you tell me something about yourself that you surprised yourself that you did this year or any year through high school?
Actually, I think it was sophomore year. I got your phone number and I called you up for an interview on, I believe it was stuff with being integrated with your culture and stuff like that. And I put it in the yearbook that year.
Yes, I remember that interview. I was wondering if that was you. These folks are a little bit older than me, and my memory goes, but I was like, I know them. Awesome. Yes, I remember that interview. I was walking outside when we were talking, because it was during COVID. So, thank you.
Guy, I really liked your art. I mean, do you have an inspiration? Where do you get your inspirations from?
A lot of inspiration is just from other artists that I see online. There's like so many artists that I just like couldn't compile together and put in my own art. But this year has really been a really big Basquiat influence. And I just really liked what he was doing. And then also Keith Haring had been a really big influence on me this year.
Very good. I don't know how you do it all. I just don't know. But well done in doing it all. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm curious to know how you chose Ma in your high school journey. I'm also curious to know what kind of art you have at maybe Milwaukie and your favorite punk band.
Okay. Why I started going to MA in freshman year was because I was planning on going to Vancouver School of the Arts or whatever, and I wasn't early enough, so the deadline had passed. So we found the closest art school, and it was Milwaukie Academy of the Arts. So in freshman year and sophomore was online. But part of junior year, I was commuting 2.5 hours to and from school. So just so I could go to the art school. What was the second question?
What do you sell at Made in Milwaukie?
Oh, in Milwaukie, I sell some stickers, sticker sheets, patches. I sell some, not prints, but I did some stencil art with fell and like a graffiti style, and I did Kurt Cobain as my inspiration, so I spray painted his portrait on a bunch of stuff, and that's also selling there.
Okay, nice. And then your punk band?
Favorite punk band? I would say Bikini Kill.
Yeah, I approve.
Great. Well, in the slideshow, the principal told us a little bit about your plans for after school, but did you want to say anything more about what you hope to do?
I decided on doing theater tech in freshman year with Scott Walker because he was like a big influence on how I got into stagecraft that year. But last year, I was one of the only kids that knew how to do technology in that theater department. So I was teaching a bunch of kids how to do like the lighting and the sound and stuff like that, and learning it myself too. But it just really got me interested in the theater tech like department, and electrician is a more like sort of practical way to get to it. So
Great. Well, I'm sure you'll do great at wherever that path takes you. It's a way to combine some practical and your art. Yeah. So I'm going to read the certificates, which usually they put up on the screen. The City of Milwaukie is proud to recognize for outstanding student achievement in academics, civic engagement, and extracurricular activities at Milwaukie High School. Kaishe Kaliohi. Let it be known to all that on this 21st day of February 2023, the City Council of the City of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the county of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, recognized this student as an excellent example of the bright future of this community and nation.
And Mayor, if it's okay, I just wanted to say one thing to Kai. So we have an arts committee here at the city. And it is always nice to have people who have new ideas and new energy to come into that committee. They do things like look at murals, they select mural locations, and then artists to do those murals. when we're doing work on buildings, they also help with the art selection for those projects. And then they do really cool events in our city. So if you're ever interested, please call me. Or it sounds like you might have Desi's number, sorry. But one of us, we would love to see you apply. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Kai.
All right.
I will hand this off to you and
Congratulations.
thanks so much. Thank you.
All right, I have a few updates. Maybe.
That was it.
There's a few things that are happening at the school right now. It's kind of that time of year where we have 1 foot in this year and then 1 foot in next year in planning. And being first year as principal at Milwaukie Ma this year, you know, I've learned a lot and some things that I want to take into next year. So as we're reviewing our semester data, we've shared with our staff, looking at kind of grade distribution. We're looking at on track data for 9th through 12th about credit-wise. We're going to be going deeper into our data there. We're starting state testing next month. We are forecasting for next year. We were just at the middle school today doing a kickoff assembly about, you know, welcome to high school. All of our counselors were there. We did a video for students. We brought students to the middle school talking about the experience. And then we're preparing for 8th grade night, which is on April 25th. And so we want to make that very festive. Some of the things we also have going on, we're doing a youth truth survey, and this is a huge way in which we're trying to gather data from our students, our staff, and our parent community about in these areas about student engagement, academic rigor, and you can see the list. And so trying to do that piece, and then we'll work on that with our site council to talk about how do we can continue to improve at our school and the experience and the engagement for our students. So we're finishing that up by the end of this week, and then we'll get that data back, and then we'll be working on that as a group to make plans for next year. We also had our Black Excellence Month assembly. And you'll notice some people in the room that were there, and our students are sitting right behind me. All 9th graders, I do have to say that because that is excellent. They just took it on and planned everything, met with Desi, met with the BSU group, and put on a phenomenal assembly. And so, and as I think the comments were, just wait until next year. So they're ready to take it on again and go from there. And so we also had some resources that we've shared with staff. We kind of have more of an assembly room that has resources. Everything in there is clickable and kind of things to use with students. And our librarian put together some resources as well to use in the classroom. We also, oops, I didn't put the last piece on there with the criteria. We just got national honors for our unified basketball team. And so within that, some of the criteria that you have for that, we got state recognition, and now we've got national. The Special Olympics group was with us last Friday as we played the unified game with Putnam. And we, it talks about having coordination with our gen ed students and playing multiple sports. So they've done kickball, they have done track, and our students have done basketball. And so we're continuing to build and grow this. I wanted to put in there the number of schools. I think we're 17, one of 17 schools in Oregon that has received this recognition. And I don't know statewide. I needed to go back and look at that. I left that incomplete, sorry about that. And then we have a group that we're starting Juntos at our school. as far as Spanish-speaking families. And it's more, we have an information session on March 16th. And so we're combining with some of our sister schools. And we're also, anyone who this would be beneficial for can come to our informational meeting. It's again on March 16th. And then we're starting our sessions on March 3rd. And some of the topics are just around how to access college, how to, what are some things you can do in high school to build that goal and that plan, and how do we achieve it? And everything culminates with a post kind of a college visit to OSU. And so that's the books for, I think, late May 20th, I believe. And so parents and students will all go, and we'll do a college visit and answer questions and all of those pieces. So that's kind of some of the things we have happening right now at Milwaukie Mall. So
You have a lot going on.
So those are all good things, but moving forward.
Anybody got questions? No? I had seen the thing about the Special Olympics playing together. I didn't know about that. I had seen some stuff about that on social media, so I thought that was really interesting. All of it's great stuff that you're doing.
It was a highlight last week of the piece about watching our kids. It's just the camaraderie, the working together, the smiles on everyone's faces. Everyone's cheering for everyone. Doesn't matter which team, just celebrating kids. And so that was the beauty of it. And that's why I always like to go to those games, because, you can't walk away but feeling happy. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you again next month with another great student.
Yeah.
So the principal mentioned celebrating Black excellence, and we had a proclamation about that at our last meeting, but Counselor Nicodemus has more to give us this week.
Yeah, I'd like to invite the folks that help plan MHS's BSU.
Mariah.
So they were gracious enough to invite this Yahoo to come speak at their assembly, and I'm really honored. It was really awesome. One of the questions that they asked, which I wanted to give a more thoughtful answer to, was what advice would I give Black students? And I have that, and you already are doing some of it, and I'm just gonna read it, and then I'll let you all present, okay? First, embrace your identity. As a Black student, it's important to be proud of your heritage and your cultural background, and celebrate your unique experiences and perspectives and use them to your advantage. 2, seek out resources and support. Some universities and organizations offer resources and support specifically for Black students. Take advantage of these opportunities to connect with others and build community. 3, this is what all of you are doing right now, getting involved, participating in clubs, what you're doing, organizations, events on campus can help you build relationships and develop new skills and make positive impacts. One day, one of you could be sitting up here. I'm serious, one day, one of you should be sitting up here. Stay informed, stay up to date on current events and issues affecting the Black community, and educate yourself on the history and experiences of Black people, which you already do by just putting on that assembly that you did. Find a mentor. This one's important, but it's also hard, right? Finding that right mentor. Consider finding a mentor who can provide guidance, advice, and support you as you navigate academic and professional journey, because it's vital that you have somebody that you can talk to that has the same shared experience. These last two are really important. Take care of yourself. Make sure to prioritize self-care, seek out help when needed. Balancing the demands of school and life can be challenging, but taking care of your mental and physical health is essential, because you can't do anything if you're not physically and mentally okay. And then stay motivated and focused. You know, higher ed could be a choice for you. If that's a choice, it can be rewarding, but no, it's challenging. You're gonna have to learn how to navigate another system that's set up barriers for you. And that's where having that mentor can come in. But stay motivated, set clear goals, and break down large tasks into smaller ones. And I'll end it here with, remember, everyone's journey is unique and there's no one right way to succeed, all right? Stay true to yourself and don't give up on your dreams, all right? So with that, you may all introduce yourself and talk.
My name's Mariah. I go by she, her. I'm in 9th grade. I'm the president of Milwaukie High School BSU.
My name is Blankatema, and I'm the vice president of Black Student Union, and I'm a freshman, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hi, my name's Olivia. I'm the secretary of BSU, and I am 9th grade, and I go by she, her.
Hi, my name's Octavio Jenkins, and I am the social media person of BSU, and my pronouns are he, him.
Today we're gonna be talking about Black excellence. So we're gonna get into that.
Can you pull the microphone just a little bit closer to you? Yeah. Yeah, you can just.
Right here?
Yeah,
Is this good?
that's
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Black excellence has such a strong meaning to it. So when somebody asks you, what is Black excellence to you, you're probably gonna get tongue-tied. As a Black person, you probably get asked this question a lot, especially as a student. It gets to the point where you will answer with the easiest response, which is Black people's achievements. It gets tiring because when you answer that question, are the people who asked you the question actually listening? So when somebody who looked like us asked us the question, it brought up encouragement to answer this question. So today, instead of telling you guys the easiest response, we're gonna tell you the most faithful.
Excellence, noun, the quality of being outstanding and extremely good. Black excellence, a term, the celebration of success in the Black community. Success, noun, the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. Purpose, verb and noun, the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. So now, your question is, what is Black excellence to us? Well, we define Black excellence as Black joy.
I think we all know Black people have a history, and that history can either hurt or bring love. Love is a feeling that's so strong, while hurting can make you feel so defeated. After years of being oppressed, Black people always found a way to love, even when we were hurting.
For Black people to stand where they are right now is Black excellence to us. For Black children to go to school with different races and ethnicities is Black excellence to us. For Black people to even learn is Black excellence to us. For Black people to have families is Black excellence to us.
Black excellence isn't just achievements, it's Black people smiling.
That it?
Yeah, I told them they didn't have to do a whole lot, just show up, because they're awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys
Yeah.
for coming. Thank you guys for coming, and do recall that we have committees you might
We
volunteer
have
for.
committees for volunteering. Counselor Nicodemus can connect you, or you can call me at any time, or your principal can help you find us. But we are always looking for new voices and new people who are interested in making a difference here in town. We'd love to see you.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
I will help you fill out an application to be on the board.
You'll fill it out.
You guys.
Thank you.
You all. Good night.
Thank you.
This is why I want to go back in the classroom. I miss being in the classroom. Bye.
We now have a presentation by the fire team. Come on up. I started talking mainly because I just wanted to thank the chief, who is always available whenever I try reaching out. So thank you for always being fast to answer questions and to help the team.
And you're amazing. That's all I got to say. Thank you so much.
Feelings are mutual.
Oh, you want me to take both? Is that what you're trying to say? Oh. Brian right here. Yeah, thank you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Mayor, council, I really appreciate you letting us come today to give this presentation. But before we start, Councilor Nicodemus, your words were strong. That's exactly what people need to hear today. You know, the path isn't the same for everybody, but it's what you make of it. And I think those words are going to resonate with the youth, and it resonated with me. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
What we're bringing before the council today is Clackamas Fire District in May of 23 is going to be going for an emergency services staffing, wildfires, and emergency response levy. That was referred by our board in January, and we want to just dive in a little bit to what that will cover and open it up for any questions that the council would have of us. Next slide, please. Or do I do it? Copy that. Perfect. No problem. Perfect. And then I'll scroll down and, okay. It's you, Brian.
Good. Good evening. My name is Brian Stewart. I'm one of the assistant chiefs with Clackamas Fire. It's a pleasure to be here in front of you this evening. As the fire chief said, we're here to talk about the local option levy, and we'll have a couple talking points for each of us. Our intent here is to provide information. We're not advocating for or against the referral. So we'll be happy to provide the information, then please ask questions if you have. We'll provide the most neutral and direct answers that we can. So when we think about the fire department, one of the things that we established a couple of years ago as a new administration was reviewing and establishing as a team, as a department, our purpose and mission. So our purpose is a new statement, and we drove that separate from the mission because it's our intent. It's what we serve and how we serve the community, and our direct application of it to save lives and mitigate emergencies while bringing calm to chaos, to bring to bring value to the communities we serve and to make people's lives better. Our mission, Clackamas Fire strives to be a well-trained team and empathetic professionals, constantly improving and empowering our people to best serve those who are sworn to protect. To kind of tie into the mission statement and still speak to kind of our doctrine is our values of teams. So trust is our first value. We can't do anything unless we involve others, unless we know that they're listening and that we are hearing them, that we're engaged with them. E is empowerment. That's directly in our mission. We can't do it alone. No one on the council can do it alone. So we strive to work together with our members and the community. A, accountability. We expect results. We expect to give our best and get the best out of individuals and to move our service forward. M is mindset. It's how we view each other. kind of an outward mindset, seeing each individual for their whole person, and not just a firefighter, not just an admin technician. And then S, service, how we focus our efforts towards serving the community to make their lives better.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you adding in teams there. That is our ethos. That's really what foundationally we believe in, along with everything else. And it's not just for each other, it's for the community. How did we get to where we're at, where I'm standing before you today, walking you through what we are going to be asking the voters for in May? In 2020, we all got hit with a unprecedented wildfire season. Wildfires broke through the Cascades, and we had firefighter on our landscape here locally. And not only locally, but across the whole entire state of Oregon. To give you an idea, within a 72-hour time frame, Clackamas Fire responded to 144 working fires. Out of those 144 working fires, 25 of them were greater alarm fires. And when I say greater alarm fires, it's a measured resource allocation. So we have a first alarm is a preset amount of resources, and that's our typical fires that we respond to. Anything greater than that doubles the resources. So that would be a second alarm. Third alarm, same type of thing. It keeps going. And within that same time frame, we had 25 greater alarms fires. Within the first 6 hours of the incident, we had 13 of those 25 were greater alarm fires, of which 5 of them reached 5+ alarms and lasted the length of the 2-week fires that we had here on the landscape. Our firefighters did the best that they could. The state did the best that they could. Everybody was strapped. Everyone was screaming for resources. And what we did is we just had what we had. And our firefighters did an amazing job. There was thousands of lives saved. The unfortunate thing is we did lose homes in that process. There was a lot of fear that came into our communities. We had never, in my history here at Clackamas Fire, ordered level 3 evacuations. And Oregon City was in a level 2 evacuation. We had better part of Clackamas County was in either a level 3 or a level 2 evacuation. So as we got done with the fires, it was important to me at the time, as I was the operations chief, to evaluate how we did and to really look at us and expose our underbelly to see how we met the emergencies we faced. Did we meet the needs of the community? And it was important to me to not do an internal after-action review. So we reached out to CAL FIRE in the state of California and had them come up, and this is their bread and butter, these types of fires, and do a thorough after-action review. And that after-action review is on our website, should you desire to see it. There was a bunch of action items on there that we've either completed or in the process of completing. But we learned a lot. We learned a lot of what we did really, really well. And we learned a lot of what we could do at a local level as well as at a regional level. And that after-action review has driven a lot of where we are today. I sit currently on the Senate Bill 762 committee to the governor, which is impacting how we're attacking wildfires in the state of Oregon. There was a lot of action items that came from that. In 2021, we got hit with the ice storm. Post the ice storm, it was important to me to get out to our communities and to hear them, because I knew that there was fear in the communities. And there was 3 main things as we did our town hall meetings that came across from our communities. One was more firefighters. The second one was lighter resource models. Why does a ladder company or an engine company go on some of these medical calls that we go on? The third, which was the big one, was wildfire threat that we are receiving on the landscape here. 2022 came, and post-COVID, like so many public agencies, we didn't come out of that unscathed. We had a pretty significant budget shortfall that year, and I had to reduce about 15% of administrative staff, and I had to reduce about 9% of response from our operational side. And that reduced 5 fire stations, the staffing that was there from 4 to 3. Post doing that, I knew that I needed to get back, because what I know is those 3 things that the community wants. I need to be able to provide as your fire chief, and I need to be able to educate with what's on the landscape and what I'm seeing coming in our area as far as response, as far as the wildfire threat, and the expanding growth that we're seeing in Clackamas County that creates more calls, and we need to respond to them. So we formed a future funding task force that was made up of fire administration, one of our board of directors, and the local. And out of that future funding task force, we really did an analysis of NFPA 1720, which is the National Fire Protection Agency. That's the national standard for response reliability. And response reliability is for, depending on what the call type is, the fire department responds to it with the certain amount of allocated resources that you have. It's like a national standard for the right amount of resources based on the call. Out of that, we said, we can't meet that right now. How are we going to get there? We looked at all avenues. We looked at federal funding, state funding, grants, everything that we could do. And it all led us to where we're coming before you today, which is a levy for staffing for our fire service. And we, in 2023, so from basically that point all the way up till today, we've been out educating the public. We've had multiple town hall style meetings, both hybrid and in person. So when we did them in person, we would film them as well, just in case people didn't make it. We did a qualitative study, which was basically just a survey throughout our website. And then we did a quantitative study, which was we hired a group that went out and called voters and to see what kind of temperature there was for a levy. After getting all the quantitative and qualitative data, we presented to the board in January with the Future Funding Task Force's recommendation to go for a levy, and the board unanimously voted for referring a levy to the voters for a May 23 ballot. Let me go to right here. So now we'll get into the components here of what the levy will fund.
So in May, when the ballot or the measure goes out to the voters of course want to know what they're going to receive for their vote and for their tax dollars. So the intent of the levy is to provide really the answers that the community has asked for, from the wildfire study to the town hall meetings that we did and the outreach and the input that we gathered from the communities. So additional firefighters at most stations across the district. That's being described kind of colloquially as wall to wall. You can picture just from edge to edge of the fire district, looking to increase those firefighters being staffed on a daily basis. 24/7 staffing of rural fire stations, Logan's and Clark's. We have 2 fire stations, those 2 that do not have paid personnel at them at this time. They're staffed by our fantastic volunteers, but that response is limited. So we're looking to provide that staffing. And then the fire chief touched on this as one of the requests, which was quick response vehicles, including lighter resources to improve efficiency in high volume service areas. So we're trying to right size the response to the call at hand, as well as making sure that other assets are available for either a more resource intensive call, or if there's a second call that the next unit is much closer, then you're waiting for a much farther station to respond. And then the third piece is we have some capital equipment that's critical to emergency and wildfire response that needs to be procured. So this 5 years emergency service levy, if passed, would provide an average annual funding of $14.5 million at a cost of 52 cents per thousand of assessed valuation. That comes to $138 for the homeowner with a home at the median assessed value, not the market value, but the assessed valuation. And then if the levy does not pass, the investments wouldn't be made, these elements would not be funded, and we would have to look at how to balance our staffing and operations.
I think it's really important, and we don't have it up here, but it's 62 firefighters is what we're looking at bringing on from that wall-to-wall service level increase to service out of the fire stations.
So that's 62
Additional.
total firefighters that we would hire.
Yeah.
I believe it comes out to 17 per day.
Yeah, 17, 18 per
17
day.
or 18 per day. So not 62 on shift at a given time, but it would add 17 or 18 per day.
Yep.
On an ongoing basis.
This isn't easy for, as a fire chief, you call 911 and we come. That's what we do. We come for help. You call for help, we come to you. I don't take this easy as a fire chief coming to you and asking to the public for help. But it's my duty as your fire chief to let you know what I'm seeing and to let the public know what I see as the remedy to be able to mitigate all the diverse emergencies that we face. And this is what I see. I'd love to be able to answer any questions at this time that you might have for me or Brian.
Got a few. I mean, you started out talking about 2020, and 2020 was a terrible year. Are there no resources that are either state or federal resources that are available for funding that urban-rural interface?
Do you know who those resources are? Us. Tualatin Valley, Portland Fire, Clackamas Fire, and the municipal fire agencies that are in. Whenever there's a state conflagration, that's who they call on. The federal resources, ODF has some federal resources, but like everywhere, they're covering the whole entire state. And so what happened in 2020, we had a fire here, but they also had fires other places. So the simple fact of the matter is it was for the first 72 hours, it was Clackamas Fire with a couple fire engines from Portland and Tualatin Valley because they were fighting their own fires as well. So
I mean, there were fires all through the West. The Congress and any of this infrastructure money and ARPA and all of that in the recent years hasn't given money that's available to fire?
There's been some funding, ARPA funding. We were not recipients of ARPA funding. The federal bill completely wrote out special districts, which is us. We're a special fire district, which makes up a vast majority of the fire departments in the state of Oregon. We were written out of that bill. We did not receive any of those funds. There was no funds allocated for that. There are a lot of funds that the state is bringing forward from Senate Bill 762. But again, those are short-term, one-term funds. We've put in for a lot of those grants, a lot of Crew 30, which is our wildland Type 2 hand crew, which is unique to a municipal fire department in the state of Oregon, but that was one of the things that came from the 2020 after action review. That's how Crew 30 is funded. And we are the only one in the state of Oregon that has a Type 2 hand crew to help combat wildfire threat. And that was funded from one of those it was a federal grant for that, but it's not going to get us where we need to get to. I would say this is not just unique to the state of Oregon, and then I'd love for you to fill in the gaps where I'm missing, if I'm missing anything. It's not unique to the state of Oregon. This is a Western Hemisphere problem. If you look at New Mexico's been on fire, Arizona, Utah, California. There's just not enough firefighters in the federal system or in the state system to aid. Now, in the 2020 fires specifically, the feds did send a Type 1 federal team and some crews, but the fire had stopped progression by that point, and it was, for the most part, out. So they just ran the fire, and we were their resources to put it out. They just oversaw it as an incident management team. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
I think just if I may add, Madam Mayor, so there's a number of grant processes out there that Clackamas routinely looks to utilize. For example, on the smaller state side, last year, we applied for and received a $35,000 grant from the state fire marshal's office, which was part of the 762 bill, which allowed us to upstaff, which we did during the East Wind event. If you may recall the McIver fire that occurred, that we had, I think it was 80 some odd personnel
88.
At a fire, which between us and other regional assets we were able to contain. But some of those personnel were upstaffed using those dollars, but that was a short-term seasonal piece. We've applied for a new fire apparatus through some state funding. We'll find out in March or April whether or not we'll receive that. We just recently applied for $1.95 million worth of portable and mobile radios through a federal grant. Last year, we applied for and received $1.2 million to be able to partially purchase cardiac monitors. Ours are aged and don't have current therapies on them or technology on them. So the fire district is active and continually looking for those funding sources, and we apply for the ones that are appropriate and we can make use of. We still end up with a gap, and that's why we're here today.
Grants are great. They're just not sustainable.
That's it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yep.
It's like you can apply for grants, but it's just it's not going to get you to, like you said, where you need to be.
That's it.
I have a question. If it passes, how long is the turnaround time to get that staffing in place?
Perfect. So if that passes, the revenue would come in November. And so if it passes, we would be getting in and starting academies. Like everyone, the recruitment is the big key for us. So we would probably be looking over a 2 to 3 year cycle to be able to get in as many academies with the amount of people that we need, because recruitment is everybody right now is hiring, and getting the next generation interested in this career has been something that we've been strategizing over for years. We launched an apprentice program this year, and just to give you an idea, we ran that application period for 3 weeks. We ran the entry-level firefighter position for 3 weeks. We had 120 applicants for the entry level. We had 488 for the apprentice. So, which is a really intriguing thing for us as in the fire service to see. And so we're looking at all sorts of creative ways to be able to open up that funnel, right? And get people into the fire service that want to be part of the team and part of that service-minded culture that we have. So that is it. I would love to tell you it's going to be done by this date, but it all depends on how quickly we can get, because we're not just going to put anybody in the seat, right? You want the right people in the seat. So, but it's opening up that funnel to be able to get those people, because forever we've required so many certifications to be able to get in, which is a barrier.
Yeah.
We're cutting out a cross section of people to be able to get in to our organization. And so we've really started to decrease that, because we can teach you how to be a firefighter. I can teach you how to do the job. I can't teach your mentality. I can't teach your drive. I can't teach your work ethic. So that's what we're looking for. And so we're opening up that funnel to try to get those individuals that want to be part of a team, want to be part of a family that's focused on service.
I love the apprenticeship idea.
Yeah.
That's the way we should be doing it in teaching.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an eye opener for us to see side-by-side comparison right there. I mean, it blew it out of the water.
Earn while you learn.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. Other questions?
I have a couple of questions. I'm wondering about the the NFPA staffing requirements.
Yeah.
So is it divided based on the population of your district?
Yes.
And what category do you fall into? What's the minimum staffing requirement for that category?
So we fall into all three. So there's suburban, urban, and rural. And so each one of those has different standards based on effective response force for a fire, for a medical call, and the call typing. So that's what NFPA 1720 states. NFPA 1710 states the minimum standard for being on a fire apparatus, to which out of our 22 fire stations, we only meet with 4 of our fire stations. So that's 4-person staffing on each apparatus. And so currently that was part of the reduction. I had to reduce 5 companies from 4 to 3. So we used to have 9. Now we've gone down to the 2-4. So that's what 1710. The 1720, which is a little bit more of a realistic for the majority of the fire service, speaks to that effective response force to be able to arrive. And do you have those numbers by any
I've got
chance?
1720, yeah.
You got 720, perfect. Which that is really what the focus of this levy for us is not only to start to meet the standard for 1710, which is getting the staffing to that national standard, but is really to focus in on that national standard for 1720 of getting the right amount of firefighters for the fire within the certain amount of time frame. So Brian, if you just read a couple of those numbers, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll touch on the urban and the suburban areas. So the urban population of 1,000 or more per square mile, the 1720 standard is 15 firefighters within 9 minutes. And when they talk about 9 minutes, they talk about from the time that call happens to the time that somebody shows up, to having those 15 people at the door. So call handling, picture a minute. Turnout time, picture a minute. Drive time for the closest fire engine, picture about 4 minutes. And then you're calling from the next fire station away and the next fire station away. And the farther that you have to go out and the more apparatus you have to bring, which to the fire chief's point, if we have 3 people on an apparatus, we need 5 units to get there to make 15. If we have 4 people on an apparatus, we need 4. And that just condenses that response time down piece, or that response piece down. For the suburban area, they're looking at some of the decreased areas in terms of further exposures, but they reduce it down to 10 individuals within 10 minutes. So a little bit longer response time. And they're also looking at the resources that communities have, but a smaller firefighting force. And so that drops down. There's actually, it goes on beyond areas that we don't have to like a frontier area as well.
Would you speak to the population for the suburban, just so that?
Oh, suburban? Yeah, sorry. Suburban population is the 500 to 1,000. And so when we did our mapping, what we did is we used the U.S. Census tracts and blocks and looked at those individually and what population metric they met and based our response time standards on that.
And how much of your district is urban versus suburban with that mapping?
I would have to go back and pull the numbers directly.
Off the top of my head, I'm close though. Give me a second.
He's the numbers guy. But you can picture most all of the Milwaukie 99 corridor down into Oregon City downtown is that urban.
Sort of everything inside 205.
Everything inside 205 is probably a fair way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's urban.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to give you false numbers. I'll get that number back to you.
That's helpful. Thank you. And my second question is, do you have a contract or an IGA with the county for medical reimbursement on EMS calls?
We do not have a, with the county, we do.
It's nominal. We gotta, I want to say it's $6 to $8 per call for non-transports.
Yeah.
So when the fire engine goes out, whatever transport provider may show up, that's a different reimbursement for the first responder impact. It's a small fee of around $6 or $8. I'm not sure on the exact number.
But it's supposed to go to a system enhancement. So it's a regional. So it goes towards like standardizing medical kits, cardiac monitors, things of that nature. It's not like I can use that for other things. It's system enhancement funds is what that reimbursement is.
And then just one follow-up.
I love what you're asking. No, these are great. These are great.
I'm wondering if the staffing minimum by those standards, does that have to be trained career firefighters, or can that be a combination of career and volunteer?
NFPA 1710 speaks to career firefighters there 24/7. But it just really kind of depends on how you want to how you want to look at it. If the volunteers, wait, no, I'm misspoking. Sorry. You can count volunteers. It just depends on if they're responding from home or if they're staffed at a fire station, correct?
Yeah, so 1720, which is what the study was based on, just looks at the number of firefighters and how long it takes to get there.
Yeah.
For Clackamas Fire, we don't have volunteers respond from home. It doesn't work on model. We don't think it's as safe for them. It puts people in private operated vehicles or their personal cars trying to drive to a call. They don't have their gear. Like, we want them to be ready. We want them to be set up for success. So our volunteers pull shifts at the two stations that are unstaffed, or they ride as another firefighter on one of the existing fire engines that are staffed with career personnel. So 1720 doesn't care if you're paid or not paid, right? You're providing a service. For Clackamas Fire, that service, from the firefighting perspective, you have to meet the same metrics. So that's one of the challenges that we have with volunteer recruitment, retention, not just us individually, but the fire service as a whole, is as those standards have risen, the time commitment, the knowledge, the refreshing, the training, all those impacts on volunteers make it harder and harder to get people to invest to serve their community for a long basis.
Thank you.
That was a great question.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Historically speaking, when was the last levy?
So Clackamas Fire has never gone out for a levy. So we are one of very few fire departments that does not have an operational levy or a levy for staffing. Tualatin Valley, Marion County, Canby Fire, Molalla Fire. We are just one of the few that has been able to live within our means, and that time has come to where we are where we're at now. I believe Tualatin Valley started their levy process in 1998.
I mean, once you start a levy, it's got to be renewed every 5 years.
That's one of those things. It's all AV based. So as the influx of commercial, residential come in, that raises the AV, which lessens the impact, in theory, of the levy. So yes, that is a true statement, Mayor, is that if going out for this levy, what I'm coming to the taxpayers for is that, hey, this could be 5 years for us to prove this concept and that it works and that the taxpayer sees the service level increase and sees the benefit of having this. That way in year 5, it's okay, this makes sense and this is worth my taxpayer dollar. If not, then the taxpayers would vote it down and I would have to about face. Yeah. So to answer your question, levies are across the state of Oregon. We have never come for one. So this is what we're doing right now.
Thank you.
But the difference, levies and bonds. Right?
Levies and bonds are different.
We have gone out for a bond.
We have gone out for a capital bond. We have done that, yes.
And do you foresee needing to do that again?
I think we're gonna have to see where we're at in 2033, where we're at with AV, where we're at with the times, where we're at with growth. As I'm forecasting right now, this levy is focused on people. I'm not forecasting right now with this levy building new fire stations. But if I'm building new fire stations, I'm hoping that the AV is picked up to where I can do that. But to say that we won't be coming out in 2033, 32, 33 for a bond, I think it's too soon.
That's a long way away.
Yeah, it's too soon for me to come out and say.
No. I wanted to ask how many, thank you for that information about the NFPA 1710 and 1720. That's helpful and one of the questions I hear from residents all the time is, why does the fire department come when the ambulance comes?
Yeah.
So you want to talk?
Sure.
I do like that you're including some smaller vehicles into this because it is. I happen to have a neighbor who, unfortunately, uses the fire department as her health care, or uses 911 as her health care. Can you talk about
100%.
that?
So Clackamas Fire is a life-saving organization. That's what we do. If Desi goes down, don't go down, okay? But if Desi goes down, I'm a paramedic. Brian You still have your paramedic?
I let it go.
You let it go.
I'm an EMT.
But I'm a paramedic, okay?
Recovering paramedic.
He's a recovering paramedic. So if Desi goes down, then I'm going to save his life. Ambulances are strategically placed by the AMR, but to be honest, get there about at the 10 to 12 minute mark. If he's holding his breath, how long do you think he can hold his breath for? That's why the fire department comes. The fire department is strategically located with fire stations to be able to get places quicker than the ambulance so that life-saving interventions can take place right now. So that's why you have a fire engine or a ladder truck that responds with an ambulance. It's typically the paramedics that are on the fire engine or the ladder truck are the first ones there beginning that life-saving measures, and are typically the ones that maintain patient contact and control if it's a life-threatening injury or situation. If it's a non-life-threatening, oftentimes we'll pass it on to the private ambulance company and they'll transport to the hospital. We have a great partnership. They're phenomenal paramedics with AMR, but it's just based on their system. They're placed and they're transporting. And so sometimes they'll be coming from Portland, Providence to a cardiac arrest that's in Milwaukie. So that's why is we are the closest. We're trained to that level, and we battle time. We battle time with medical calls. Now, not every single 911 call we go on is a life-saving call. That's where that quick response unit comes in. That's where if somebody's having a lower acuity is what we call it, medical call, that quick response unit gets there, leaves the other apparatus available for that life-saving call. So.
And what percentage, roughly, of your calls are medical versus fire?
About 80%.
80% medical.
80% of our calls are medical-based. 20% are fire-based.
And is that
a little bit? That might be
about right.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much the same here as it is in Boring?
Well, yeah, I think statistically, actually, I think you see more fires in the urban area.
Really?
Yeah. But you also see more medical calls. So I think statistically, it runs that way. It runs that way about the same. It's about that 80% across our coverage area. And depending on where you're at, I've seen numbers in, Texas or Utah or Arizona climbing about 90% of their calls are EMS related and 10% fire, but we're sitting at 80% medical and 20% fire. Yeah.
And what, the 4-person goal, the 4-person per apparatus goal, are most other fire districts meeting that around here?
City of Portland is 4-person, is all 4-person staffed. Walton Valley is all 4-person staffed. Canby Fire is 4-person staffed. Sandy Fire is 4-person staffed. Malala is not. Clackamas Fire is not. Estacada Fire is not.
I heard Lake Oswego is also.
Lake Oswego is 3.
3.
Yes. And if you look at Lake Oswego, though, the benefit that they have is they have 4 stations surrounding a lake. So they've got them real close together. We're a little bit more sprawled out.
Yeah.
That's where that benefit of that 4-person staffing comes in.
Okay. Any other questions, anyone? All right. Well, thank you very much for your time and for coming. And
I can't thank you enough for allowing us to come. And you got an amazing city manager, so no, appreciate your guys' time. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Chief.
Thank you.
And the other chief offered to help you with your hiring.
Of course.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
okay. Before I move into the next item, I neglected to say at the outset that Councilor Khosrowbadi, who's not with us tonight, is excused for tonight, and we hope he's doing well. So, community comments. That is where I am, right? Yes. This is the part of the agenda during which council will hear community member comments regarding city business. For those in person who wish to speak, please submit a yellow comment card found on the table just outside the door. If you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand reaction to alert staff you wish to speak, and when instructed to begin, click the microphone option to unmute yourself. If you are calling in through Zoom and would like to make a comment, dial *9 to raise your hand. You may also submit a comment via email to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. Before I go on and read the rest of this, I know we have some people in the room, but are they all here about the hearing on the firearms ordinance? So we don't have anybody who's community comment.
Fireworks. Fireworks.
Fireworks. And do you have anybody wanting to comment online?
There's one person on Zoom and they don't have their hand raised, but I'm expecting that person just raised their hand, but I'm suspecting that person wants to speak to fireworks
As well.
But they did just raise their hand, so.
Okay, well, I guess maybe I should finish reading the script then if we don't know. Okay, before you make your comments, please state your name and city of residence for the record. If you would like the city to follow up with you, please submit your contact information to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. As council has other business items on the agenda this evening, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Because information provided during community comments may be new, the city manager will respond at the next council meeting to those comments that require follow-up. Before we begin, is there any follow-up from the February 7th community comments, Ms. Ober?
There is not.
There is not. All right, so if the recorder would check with the person online to see.
I did message them, but I'm gonna allow them to talk. It's Jason Trout. Jason, can you hear us?
I will wait for the fireworks portion.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
That's what I suspected. Okay. So with that, we will move on to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes minutes of the City Council January 10, 2023 study session, January 17, 2023 work session, January 17, 2023 regular session, and January 28, 29, 2023 retreat. A resolution adopting the council communication agreement, and a motion confirming the 2023 council committee assignments. Does any member of council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I move to approve consent agenda as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. It passes unanimously. We had 2 items on our agenda that have been stricken. We were going to discuss Parks Levy ballot measure referral, which was discussed at our study session last week, if anyone wants to look at that. And we were going to discuss council goals, but we won't do that without the full council present. So we're not doing either one of those things tonight. And we will move on to the fireworks ban adoption. The public hearing on the proposed code amendments is called to order. The purpose of this hearing is to hear the staff report, take public comment, deliberate, and consider adopting an ordinance banning fireworks. Does any member of council wish to announce actual or potential conflicts of interest? Not seeing any. With that, I will turn it over to Code Compliance Coordinator Tim Salyers.
Thank you, Council. My name is Tim Salyers. I'm the Code Compliance Coordinator for the City of Milwaukee. I am here with a proposed ordinance that bans the sale, possession, and use of all fireworks in Milwaukee. We had, a couple weeks ago, we had a discussion, and I came back with the same ordinance as proposed. The current code, as it stands right now, before we do anything tonight, the current code is any of the loud bangs, the super loud bangs, and the ones that are in the sky, those are prohibited by our code already. In our parks, any type of fireworks is already banned. That's what our current code stands right now. The proposal that we have tonight would not allow your regular fountains that are sold at Safeway or at the marketplace, would not allow the sale of those at those locations. And it also would not allow those fountains to be set off in our city.
I mean, it's not just fountains.
No,
No.
it's not.
Okay.
But as an example of what we're, what are already versus what are already banned, the ones that are sold currently in Oregon are the ones that we're banning that are not in parks. Right now, they're banned in parks. Everywhere in the city, they'd be banned from the sale or use or possession. We talked a little bit about enforcement last time, and from a staffing level, both myself and the code compliance specialist worked in overtime detail the night before July 3rd and July 4th last year. And that's the extra staffing has been put forth towards fireworks enforcement. Due to staffing levels currently for the police department, code enforcement standpoint, that with the passing, we don't foresee that to be increased at all. As I think I mentioned that last time. I just wanted to make that clear that with current staffing levels, that's not what we're foreseeing as something we can do. I don't have much more.
Keep going.
Okay, good, because I don't have much more to say.
Hey, any questions for Mr. Salyers? No? Okay. Have we received any additional correspondence on the topic?
The correspondence we have received has been forwarded to council. There are 3 pieces, one from Jason Trent, one from Jason Trout, Bernie Stout, and Debbie Patton.
That's it. Okay. All right. We have one person who wishes to testify, and we have Mr. Trout online as well. The council will now take public testimony on proposed changes. I will recognize speakers, and any questions should be addressed through me. When you begin to speak, state your name and city of residence for the record. For those in person who wish to speak, please submit a yellow comment card found on the table just outside the door. If you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand reaction to alert staff that you wish to speak, and when instructed to begin, click the microphone option to unmute yourself. If you are calling in through Zoom and would like to make a comment, dial *9 to raise your hand. You may also submit a comment via email to ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. Presentation times for all speakers will be limited. We ordinarily limit it to 3 minutes, but given that we only have a couple of speakers, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Please confine your remarks to the proposed action, avoid repetition and irrelevant information. So I think I will take the person in the room first. So Carol Addison, please come forward. I obviously don't know how to use this. Okay. Please state your name and city of residence for the record.
My name is Carol Addison, and I'm a resident of Milwaukee. Mayor, council, and citizens. My name is Carol Addison. I'm the secretary of Kellogg Court, Order of the Amaranth, who meet across the street at the Masonic Lodge. The Order of the Amaranth's primary philanthropic work is our Diabetes Research Foundation. We also support the Milwaukie Center and Pioneer Center Meals on Wheels programs. We are part of the largest private fundraiser nationally for research and annually raise over $400,000 that goes direct to research for diabetes. Our fireworks project has been one of our major fundraisers for over 35 years. We are opposed to the total ban of fireworks. We are trying to understand why the council would consider banning legal fireworks in Milwaukee. To our understanding, nothing stated in the meeting on February 2nd, detailed what the real issue is with Oregon legal fireworks in Milwaukie. Per our research, there haven't been any fires caused by fireworks to speak of in the city of Milwaukie. No injuries have occurred, nor has there been property damage reported. The high temperature over the last 11 years in Milwaukie on the 4th of July averages less than 80 degrees and has only been above 90 once. We understand and would welcome putting safeguards in place to limit the use of fireworks during drought or fire conditions, but we see no reason to outright ban Oregon legal fireworks in Milwaukie. If the use of fireworks on Elk Rock Island is the issue, those people should be educated that fireworks are illegal on the island already and enforce the law on people using illegal fireworks on the island. If the amount of time during a day that fireworks are being used is the issue, limit the time use is allowed, perhaps. Aerial fireworks are already illegal and not enforced, especially in our neighborhood on Concord Terrace. Do police and fire have a plan to increase enforcement of illegal fireworks, which are the real problem? How does banning something legal help solve a problem when the problem is already illegal and there is no enforcement? Punishing citizens who are not breaking the law because of citizens that are already breaking the law seems counterintuitive. Driving citizens to other places to purchase their fireworks, potentially illegal fireworks, doesn't seem to be a good answer. Bans don't seem to work, and people want to celebrate with legal fireworks. Taking away a family's right to celebrate the freedom that our country was founded on seems a bit unfair. We are just trying to understand what the real problem is and would love to work on some solutions, but nothing at the meeting on the 7th seemed to show why Oregon legal fireworks should be totally banned in our city of Milwaukie. Thank you for your time and attendance. Or attention.
Thank you. Can I just ask you one clarifying question? Your stand that you sell fireworks at, where is it located?
This year, we were the first year up on King Road in the Safeway parking lot.
Okay.
We had previously been at the Safeway near Reed College on Woodstock for over 35 years.
And they booted you? Oh, Portland.
Multnomah County did.
Yep, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, stop. Stop. I guess I need a tutorial on how to use this thing. I used to, okay, go ahead and let Mr. Trout talk, and I will figure out how to add up 5 minutes here.
Mr. Trout, can you hear us?
I can. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can. And as soon as the mayor says you're ready.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay, Mayor. I don't think I need 5 minutes. I hope not. So I'll be brief. I'm the regional manager for TNT Fireworks. I represent the 2 permits that are actually legal inside the city of Milwaukie, which is a little bit surprising because there are a lot of permits that say city of Milwaukie on it. But the reality is there are 2 permits, 2 locations inside the city of Milwaukie that are both run by nonprofit organizations, Carol's organization, as well as another church that runs the Milwaukie Marketplace. I'm here representing them. The funds that they get from this sale of fireworks is a huge help for them. They put the money back into the community, and to be able to continue to raise funds by selling fireworks is a huge benefit to them. I tried to speak with each one of you guys. I appreciate the council members that got back to me. We want to be a good partner with the city of Milwaukie, and we want to try to help, mitigate illegal fireworks in the city of Milwaukie. I hope that you guys took the time to read the recommendations and the suggestions that I put forth in the packet. There are many other municipalities that deal with illegal fireworks, and I hope that some of the alternatives that I put into my email will hopefully help you to be able to understand that, illegal fireworks are the problem in your community. And also hopeful that some of the solutions that I provided would be something that the city would consider rather than an outright ban. An outright ban pushes people to go other places to purchase fireworks and bring them back, which they're already doing. The compliance or the enforcement of illegal fireworks is already an issue in the city of Milwaukee. And if you ban fireworks within the city, could potentially push more people to go get illegal fireworks and bring them back to the city of Milwaukee. So I want to be a resource for the council. I appreciate the council members that reached out to me to hear our side of the story, because obviously we're the ones that are going to be affected the most if an entire ban takes place. I am willing to meet with any council member, any part of the city that is interested in hearing about solutions to illegal fireworks. We want to be good partners. So again, my name is Jason Trout. I'm the regional manager for TNT Fireworks. Our office is outside of Milwaukee, but we have a Milwaukee address as well. So we are committed to being a good partner with the city. And if there are any questions, please feel free. I'll be happy to answer anything.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. I think I'm not seeing any questions, and I'm going to ignore this machine. All right. Well, with that, we've heard all the testimony. No one else in the Zoom looking to testify? All right. Does staff have any response to the testimony?
Just one brief comment about Concord Terrace being outside the city limits. So I'm not to blame for not doing firework enforcement in your neighborhood. just want to be clear.
Yeah.
War zone up there.
Okay, if there are no more questions, does council have questions for staff? All right, if there are no more questions, I will entertain a motion to close the public comment part of the firework ordinance hearing. And, oh, yay, thank goodness.
I move to close the public comment portion of the hearing.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public comment part of the fireworks ban ordinance hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. The public comment portion of the hearing is closed. Is there council discussion?
I'll start. So, based upon our last meeting on February 7th, I went back and looked at Chief Brown's testimony here from the November 15th meeting, which I found, quite enlightening. And, I was sympathetic to the good works that these philanthropic groups are doing through their sales. And so I kept looking for, some elegant solution here. But the further I got into this whole thing and saw the various constraints that other municipalities are using, by date, even by hour, I think in the case of Grants Pass, or by condition. And, the fire hazard conditions can be confusing to anyone, about, where we are. Are we in hazardous fire condition? Or are we in high fire condition? And then you overlay that with all the surrounding communities, with all the various ways that they're approaching it. It's just sort of a mosaic of confusion. And so, that was my concern, is that there was very few simple solutions to this. And I get back to, the concerns that we've heard through some of our residents about the mental health issues with PTSD sufferers, both people and pets. And I will tell you, the physical danger of this is not some abstract thing. And I know that some of us were introduced tonight to the National Fire Protection Association. I'm familiar with that organization, and they have some fairly sobering statistics about the number of fires that are occur from fireworks and the injuries that occur. And, you know, we had a terrible incident in this area just a few years ago from a fireworks started fire apartment complex that killed 3 people in Portland. So these are not abstract issues. And you lay that in with, you know, the chief's testimony in November that, you know, 36% of those injured or, you know, injuries are, you know, to people who are less than 15 years old. And so I will tell you that the, you know, to me, you know, the public safety concern outweighs the good works that is obviously happening through the sale of these fireworks. I wish there was a simple solution that didn't hinder these philanthropic efforts. But I will tell you that I do have, you know, one concern, and that is the amount of the fine. And I think that $1,000 is a big fine. And I think that fines can be a deterrent, but I want that deterrent to be a tap and not a blow. Because if someone gets hit with a $1,000 fine, you're talking about, you know, a substantial portion of a person's rent, you know, that they have to pay. And so I would hope that we would consider something lower than that $1,000 threshold. And I'm open to the discussion about what that might be, but a number that just comes to my mind is $250. I'm glad I wasn't on the timer.
No timer for counselors.
May I ask a follow-up question about that?
Sure.
Okay. I'm wondering if staff could refresh us on the language of the ordinance and if the fine is assessed at the first contact, or if that is sort of a second or third contact with an individual.
And also, you talked previously about the judge's discretion, so talk about both of those.
Whether or not a citation is issued is up to the officer. So the judgment is based on that. The plan that I had in my mind was leaflets for folks that were doing fountains or the ones that are quote unquote legal fireworks in Oregon. It was not a citation first thing. For the folks that are buying them in Washington or other places and then bringing them here that are going up in the air, those are citation right away. That's the way that I operated a couple years ago when we did the hot weather ban. That was the plan that I had for notifying this year, if that was the case. And the $1,000 fine is a maximum possible fine, and I believe the judge has reduced it in the past if they've been willing to take a class. She also may weigh the type of firework that's being used also, but like I said, if they were handed a leaflet first and they were letting off fountains and then we came back the same night, maybe they're getting a ticket at that point. And so they were warned and now they're issued a $1,000 ticket. That's the way a code reads now. That's the proposed code. What you all want to do is up to you.
Thank you.
Other thoughts?
I share the same sentiment that you have. These folks are doing good work with the money that they earn. However, you know, our summers are getting hotter and drier. We talked about not even having enough firefighters, folks suffering from PTSD. It's not an easy solution. I wish it was easy. I wish it was we could decide it would be a day or a time or it's hard. It's really hard because you're affecting folks' ability to earn some money to do good things. So I just wish it was easy, but it's not. This is hard. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. This is a difficult decision. Like Councillor Massey, went back and watched Chief Brown's presentation from November, rewatched our last meeting, ran the query again from the State Fire Marshal's website. I had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Trout. And while there would be an economic impact for the 2 permits, the retail permits that exist in Milwaukie, there are still concerns for me about the public safety of injuries, the changing environmental conditions that we have for potential fires, the disruption to individuals that are suffering from PTSD, animals that are displaced, health concerns in general. When the Eagle Creek fire happened in the Columbia River Gorge, I was part of the team that went out with first responders while the fire was still burning. We were in the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, for 2 weeks, seeing the impacts of fireworks in that situation and meeting with residents that were evacuated. They were either in an area where it was unsafe to go back to their home, or from just mere smoke inhalation that was an extremely impactful experience for me. So I'm trying to weigh all of the concerns and realize that, the city of Milwaukie is also part of an urban area. So it's definitely a lot to think about. But as I explained to Mr. Trout on the phone, that the public safety, environmental impacts, and the health concerns outweigh economics for me, unfortunately.
So I will not, I agree with things everyone has said. I won't retread them. I would just add a couple of points. One is we're never going to be able to enforce our way out of this. We keep hearing that from people, well, why don't you enforce this? Or, try one night or try this and then enforce that. I mean, we know that we're never going to be able to enforce our way out. And so having a blanket ban and having that word spread through the community, I do hope, like when we did the first ordinance about 4 years ago, some residents banded together and bought lawn signs to put out. And I thought that was an effective way of sort of letting neighbors know. I hope that might happen again. Some way, obviously we have things like the pilot and other ways to let people know. I think that's the only way we build to yes, we will have, both Oregon bought and Washington bought and tribal bought fireworks. But the more we have a steady, clear rule, the easier it will be to move people toward voluntary enforcement over the years, I'm convinced. I also will just say PTSD is real, and there are some noisy fireworks. Black cats, I'm pretty sure, are allowed in Oregon, or can be bought in Oregon, and they are quite loud, even though they don't fly in the air. I don't know if anybody here will remember this, but maybe 8 or 9 years ago, the city put rumble strips on Washington Street to slow people down. There was an effort to, next to the high school and next to the Catholic elementary school, there was an effort to slow people down on that street, and the city put in 2 sets of rumble strips. And if you drive it now, there's only 1 set. One of those sets, I don't know that I've ever seen the city act as fast as they did in pulling out that second set of rumble strips, because there was a veteran who lived there, and that sound of people going over those rumble strips was really setting him off. And those rumble strips were taken out, I mean, really very quickly. PTSD is a real thing for the people who suffer from it. And I also worry, I mean, the pets, we got some testimony about the impact on pets. I've known people who pack up their pets and go out of town for the weekend, but unfortunately, it's become like a week-long or 10-day long season around here, especially anyway. So I do think it's the right thing to do to go forward with this ordinance. I think the question remaining is about the amount of fine. I don't know, no one mentioned that, but Councilor Massey, I could see having a lower, still having the $1,000 fine for the statewide illegal fireworks and having a lower fine for the Oregon fireworks, potentially. I don't know if that would be difficult to administer for code enforcement. Yeah.
There's some wordsmithing on the ordinance that would have to take place, that have to connect the dots, and
right.
But it's certainly doable by definition, maybe.
The only complication I see with bifurcating the penalty phase is technical know-how in the field. Determining, I mean, when you look at those definitions, they're tied to the amount of gunpowder, the labels are burned up after they go off. Like, how do you determine what's what at the time of issuing the citation without some sort of analysis or expertise? I think it would be very difficult to administer, likely.
Okay. Well, okay. So what do people think about the amount of fine?
I'm glad that the ordinance specifies that it's an amount up to, and that we do have the discretion of code enforcement. I appreciate your response. Thank you for illuminating a little bit more about, the contact that you do have with folks, the warning that you do provide. I mean, I don't think that you're going into this wanting to write out as many citations as you possibly can. I think what we're trying to do is implement something that gives residents an opportunity to get used to the education and the change in an ordinance. So I would not recommend making a change to the actual ordinance language, but rather just have a clear implementation plan that empowers the code enforcement team to be able to use their discretion on a site.
Yeah, I would support the concept of code enforcement, doing, sensible things on the scene, and, for the judge to having obviously discretion. I just still have a problem with $1,000 being the ceiling. And,
$1,000 being what?
Being the ceiling, up to. And so I still think that needs to be lower. I'm open to some lower figure, and we let code enforcement and the municipal judge figure out the appropriate fine level for that. But I don't know, $1,000, that, again, that could be a blow to someone rather than a tap to someone to get their attention.
I just wanted to put forward that there's an alternative. The fee schedule is actually where we often put fines instead of having an independent ordinance, which means that we would have a chance to review this every time we did the fee schedule. So the council at the time could decide if they felt like the $1,000 was too high, how many people were coming in, whether or not it was changing behaviors, stuff like that, if you would prefer to move it. If we were to do that tonight, I would say that we would not adopt the ordinance tonight. We would put it on for an adoption at a future date, just so that we could go back and remove the language and make sure that it got added to the fee schedule.
Could you, when do we normally review the fee schedule?
We usually do it on a biennium basis with the budget, but we have a couple of fees that we've needed to clean up anyway. So this could be something, it would definitely be done before the July holiday. It's something that we could put into place probably in May. So if you wanted to continue to think about that amount and then talk about it at the fee schedule, that might be an option.
I mean, can we not just change, okay, but for the purpose of getting this ordinance passed, can we not just change the language to any person who violates this chapter is subject to a fine as set in the city's fee schedule?
Well, Tim just started to say something to me that I did not catch, so I'm gonna let.
Okay.
Just with a May adoption of this ordinance,
Oh, no, the ordinance would be adopted immediately. This would be whether or not the fee schedule will actually set the new $1,000 rate. You can do that. The city attorney doesn't like me changing ordinance language on the fly. He likes to review it. So it's up to him whether or not he'd be comfortable with us making that singular change tonight.
It's obviously a rather minor change, but I want to, if you are to choose to vote to adopt the ordinance, read the changes into the record, and we will make the language match how we use that verbiage in other areas of the code to make the fine subject to the master fee schedule.
Can I ask a question? How many people have gotten a $1,000 fine?
Have been assessed or have been charged, right? So there's two. One
Okay.
is that they were given the ticket or that they actually paid the ticket. Do you know what those numbers are?
14 citations have been issued. On the back end, I don't know. I do know on the back end of the 4 that I've written, they did not pay $1,000, even if they let off the illegal fireworks. I think the dollar amount was around $250, but I think a couple of them did go to a class.
Okay. I'm fine with it being like up the maximum up to 1,000. If like we haven't had a bunch of folks that actually paid the maximum, why?
I can live with that based upon what I'm hearing. And we'll have other opportunities to look at the fee schedule.
So, but you still would like to have it pulled out as the amount and put in the fee schedule, or do you want to have it in here? The reason I ask is that we look at the fee schedule every biennium. We don't look at the ordinance again unless we are making changes to the ordinance at the request of council.
I mean, if that's the direction the police department and the code enforcement is going for fines, I mean, fine with that, but I don't want to hold this up for this.
His preference would be to keep it in the ordinance, so
Okay.
it's just very clear. So this is more, if you all wanted flexibility, that's how you could get flexibility.
I'm fine with it the way it is.
I can live with it.
Okay, it sounds like we have a consensus, so I would do I have to, is the council ready to vote? Top of page 9, I would entertain a motion.
I move for the first and second readings by title only and adoption of the ordinance amending the municipal code, chapter 9.18, fireworks to prohibit the sale, possession, and use of consumer fireworks.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded for the first and second readings by title only and adoption of the ordinance amending municipal code chapter 9.18 fireworks to prohibit the sale, possession, and use of consumer fireworks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. None heard. It passes unanimously. Ms. Ober, would you please read the ordinance 2 times by title only?
An ordinance of the City of Milwaukie, Oregon, amending Municipal Code MMC Chapter 9.18, fireworks to prohibit the sale, possession, and use of consumer fireworks. Again, an ordinance of the City of Milwaukie, Oregon, amending Municipal Code MMC Chapter 9.18, fireworks to prohibit the sale, possession, and use of consumer fireworks.
Mr. Stoffer, would you please poll the council?
Councilor Stavenard.
Aye.
Councilor Massey.
Aye.
Council President Nicodemus.
Aye.
Mayor Beatty.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0 with 1 abstention. Motion carried ordinance 2225.
All right. The abstention does not move us into the not unanimous category, right? We don't have to have a second reading.
I believe it's unanimous among those present.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. Thank you. The ordinance passes. And now we move on to council reports, legislative and regional issues.
I have a very quick PowerPoint to get us caught up, if that works. And I promise to be quick. So, oh, this is the wrong date, but it says it's February 21st, not the 7th. Here we are in the legislative date calendar. Today is the deadline for measures to be introduced to the legislature. So I presume that that's over. And then the revenue forecast is due tomorrow. And over the last few weeks, there have been discussions and emails and exchanges about what we're tracking collectively as a city and as a council. And the ones, so I've got the spreadsheet if anyone's interested in it. These are the ones that I, as of this morning, had something scheduled. Everything else that I've seen on the list, the numbers come through, nothing is particularly scheduled. So HB 3111 exempts personnel records held by PERS. This one seemed to be, I think this is the one that's moving the quickest of all these that are listed. Hearing for today. The public records, SB 510, which creates an independently funded public records advocate office, had a hearing today. On Thursday, HB 2001, very quick shorthand, forgive my shorthand for the titles of these. I'm sure these do much more than what I've written here, but HB 2001 requires state housing study. That has a hearing on Thursday. SB 275, which aligns state educational agencies, has a hearing on Thursday. And HB 2505, allowing cities to increase marijuana tax rates, has a hearing next week. So these are the ones I have scheduled for hearings. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything about these.
Well, I did learn a few things about a couple of these. First off, HB 2505, the marijuana tax rate, that is the bill that looks like it's moving things from the schools to the cities. But the schools apparently get backfilled out of the general fund, so it's not quite as much of taking from the schools as it might look. Apparently, it's the only one really getting consideration. The other bill, which was to just straightforward let cities raise their tax rate to 10% on marijuana if they so choose, does not seem to be moving, and it was proposed by Republican members of the legislature, and apparently that's part of why it's not moving. So this will be probably the only thing that speaks to marijuana tax rate, but it's not. The city manager and the finance director looked at it a couple of weeks ago when we were first talking about this, and we're not overly enthusiastic about it. It didn't think it was going to do much for our income level. So it doesn't look like we should hold out a lot of hope for a lot of new marijuana tax revenue, unfortunately. And then HB 2001, I sent everyone some emails about, and you've been on the LOC emails about the 60-day bills, the bills that they're trying to move fast. So there's two things the legislature's trying to move fast. One is the semiconductor stuff, and the other is a first wave of housing and houselessness stuff. And that's this HB 2001 and HB 2889, which is the housing, the thing we're going through now, the housing production strategy stuff is going to be merged together. It has to, in order to go fast, it has to be relatively bipartisan. So the more controversial things are not going to be in it. And it sounded like, from talking to Representative Gamba, that the rent cap, the new proposed rent caps are probably not going to be in it because they are controversial. But a lot of good things are in it. And it looks like, you know, they're trying to keep it on track to pass in mid-March. So those are the two things I know something about on that list. Do you know anything about the educational? Is that something you're following?
Not the 275, not as close. The other two that I brought up, I already testified for. So I'm not sure on that one.
Okay. Are there any of those that you think we should be doing a letter on, or you think they're?
Of course, but I just did it.
Yeah, on your own.
On my own, because that testimony came up quick, fast before.
Okay.
If there's no other updates on this, then the one thing that I did have is that letter that Mayor Beatty passed around, 2 letters. I think I only got one. I heard an email.
Document with 2 letters in it.
Oh, well then maybe I have it and I just labeled it as one. So if you like, I can stop and move to that. Oh, if I can find.
One of these letters is about e-bike rebates. A resident contacted me and asked that we weigh in on this, and I felt like it was consistent with our climate goals and to some degree our equity goals. What we were told by, what I was told by Representative Gamba is that it's going back for some tweaking to put in a sort of a cap as to who, a financial cap as to who can benefit from this. So it doesn't just become a tool for wealthy people to buy nicer toys. So there's going to be potentially some amount of means testing or tying it to other benefit eligibility or something. It sounded like they hadn't really settled on what they were doing. And so I did not try to get into the details on that in this letter. I just tried to express a general support. I will admit this letter is plagiarized fairly substantially from the City of Portland's letter, although much shorter. It's about half the length of the City of Portland's letter. That's this one.
Did the City of Portland have the footnotes, or are the footnotes you?
The footnotes are me. The footnotes are me. I do believe, and you'll hear this from me if you submit letters, when there's something that's very specific and not a point of general public knowledge, I do think we should be providing our sources. And this has come up a lot, especially in climate stuff, where you get all these statements about the various greenhouse gases or whatever.
Is that a personal preference, though?
Yeah.
Or is it okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's this letter, and I guess it gives me a segue to talk about our process, because this is the process that I was used to using in the last council. Was you sent out your letter saying, hey, this is the letter I'm going to bring, but you gave it to people in advance so that people had a chance to read it in advance. And also, sometimes gave each other input, like, oh, you left out this argument, or you've got typos here, or, this isn't grammatically correct, or whatever it might be. I guess our lawyer has some concerns about those kind of exchanges. So I thought we should actually talk about process a little bit.
Well, and just because our attorney actually can't give you all direction or advice on the dais, so I'm going to try and do what I can here tonight. And if you all want to have more of a conversation, you can individually with him. But I did just want to say, I think there's a solution. And I can talk about how Kelly Brooks, I think, was largely leading this process. And I think Scott's probably willing to lead this process because I know he's super good at details. And that is that you all could send it out. You'd send it to the group, and then you would just say, please reply back to Scott with any edits that you have or any changes. Scott then would make those changes. If there's changes in conflict or if there were policy recommendations that came from you all, we would actually bring those forward to the meeting so that he wasn't making a decision about whether or not it fit or didn't fit. You all would have that discussion at the meeting, and then he would make any other changes, send it to the committees or to the elected officials. So that's how Kelly has largely been handling it. By the way, she did call in just for a few minutes to say hi tonight, watching you all. So if that works for people, I think that is the ideal way to do this. And that just makes sure there's no accidental policy discussions happening via email to a letter.
I think that sounds great.
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
I have one question.
Please.
I mean, I like the process. I think it'll work great. Do we have to be 5-0 on a letter?
You don't. Well, you would have to if you want to do it as a consent. So you all would agree that you all generally want to send this letter in. If you didn't, what we've done is we've done it by signature. So individuals can opt out of their signature line. So we'll put all 5 and then 4 of them will sign. 4 members will sign.
Okay.
Or we've done it where really this is important to one person, not to everyone else. That individual just says, hey, listen, I understand you're not there. I am submitting this. I wanted to let you know and make you aware that this will be going in under my signature. You all do have the right to use the city's branding for your purposes when you're acting as a city council member. That means it can go on letterhead. It just needs to be clear who it's coming from. So if you decide you want to send your own letter, feel free to on our letterhead. It just needs to be clear that you are the signer if you have not gotten permission from the rest of council.
And I think that's an important point because we're about to come up on a period where, you know, we're almost going to be 3 weeks till our next council meeting. There's going to be lots of hearings. There's probably going to be a lot of things people want to weigh in on that we're not going to be able to do as a council. People are just going to be needing to do those individually.
Yep. And part of this too is that in the past, we've adopted resolutions that were more general in nature. So we adopted one that said affordable housing is really important to the council, or climate change is a deep concern to the council. And then there was an agreement by the parties at the dais that the staff could use that information into a letter to go to the legislature if there was a specific piece of legislation that had to do with those items. So for instance, on the REACH code, which was really important to the former mayor, it would change, it would ebb and flow. Natalie would make a call. This one still matches with what we said we were endorsing. She would submit the letter on behalf of council. We never actually ended up running afoul of anyone. I've never received a complaint saying that a council member felt caught off guard in that process, as long as the resolution was adopted and things were really clear. Does that all work?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a question. So like if I write a letter, well, I wrote a letter, but I used my organization's letterhead.
Yep.
In that letter, I can still say I'm on Milwaukie City Council.
You can.
Because I did.
Yes, good to know. You can, but it's also a chance, you know, sometimes I'll be honest, sometimes letterhead matters.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps you be seen. And so we just I wanted to make sure you're aware that you have that right. If you have questions, Scott can help you get things placed onto letterhead under your signature. And he can help you find the right information for the right committee members as well. So feel free to reach out.
But in the you know, in the body of the letter, do we somehow say that this is a personal, you know, position? Or
I would say,
well, like I ended this letter with this language, we support this bill, and it would show all of our signatures. So if this was just going under me, I wouldn't have included that language. I wouldn't have said we, and then I would have said I, right? I think it's clear from the text of your letter whether.
And we've gone back and forth over the years, like in the opening, I am a Milwaukie City Council member. I'm writing today to express my personal concerns regarding. So there's definitely different ways you can handle it. I'm happy to look at those as we're trying to figure this out as a team. So if you want me to see something just to do a proof of, yeah, this is correct to the agreements we've had on the dais, Scott can do the same. But I think you all can do this without that.
I'm just a full disclosure kind of person.
I love it.
Okay, so it sounds like we have a process. Then we have these 2 letters to see if people are in agreement with. And then I did have a few other updates, and Rebecca might as well. How did people feel about the letters they got late last night? Any concerns about sending them forward? There's this one on the e-bikes, and then there's a shorter one about, there we go, about utility assistance.
I wouldn't mind waiting, and I don't know, can we wait to see what they say about who can get the rebate?
We can wait, sure. I mean, there's not, yeah, sure. It's not scheduled for another hearing yet, so
Okay.
it could be later. It could.
And if it's not, like, if it's going to be too late, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't, like I said, it's not, there's no hearing scheduled yet. Yeah, I would guess with the things they are trying to expedite for mid-March that, this is not one of them. And so it also seemed to have a lot of testimony and support. There weren't really any organized opposition other than to the people requesting an income cap for it. So I have no problem with waiting on that one. The other one.
That was 3125?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment about the e-bike? And was that the one that you were just saying you wanted to hold off on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My only thought, and it doesn't, I would support either version of it, but my only thought is that sometimes when legislation moves forward with a requirement of additional tracking or additional eligibility, that then, if I understand it correctly, then it will get kicked out because there's some additional like administrative, I don't know, financial obligation or something along those lines. So I would just say that would be something maybe that we watch for on that one. And like I said, it doesn't have an impact on, I support it more if it's a rebate for folks that are not making, like whatever, 200% of the federal poverty level. But if it looks like the addition of that is going to prevent the bill from moving forward, then I would say that we need to, adjust our advocacy or something.
So I will tell you that Jacob Sherman in the Ardenwald neighborhood and a neighbor of Counselor Nicodemus is watching this for his job. And so with the Portland Bureau of Transportation. And so I'm sure he will keep us informed of how it develops. I don't think we have to worry too much about it falling through the cracks, although I do hear that on some things. Yeah.
Well, it inevitably comes with some administrative baggage because there's got to be, a tax form to fill out and, a way to claim the rebate and all that. So, that could, encumber the bill.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And similarly, actually, the one on the utility, I'm trying to remember if it had a hearing coming up.
So is that the wait for the e-bikes one? Waiting on that one, or was that the other one?
No, the e-bikes one waiting on. Oh, I'm sorry. I told you the wrong number before. Yeah. It's the e-bikes one that
We're waiting on.
that Counselor Nicodemus was suggesting waiting on.
Okay.
And yeah.
This one you're talking about now.
Right, 3125. I was going to look it up real quick and see where it, if it has a hearing or anything. Oh, it's had 2 hearings. I don't know. To be honest, our input, it's had 2 hearings. Our input here is probably not that important. I just knew that this was a subject that we've talked a lot about over the last year or two, and that we worked on as a city to provide assistance to people. So I don't know that this letter is really necessary. We could again just table it for now and say we will, I can look at it again before our March 7th meeting.
Well, and this was a specific one that the LOC asked us to reach out to our elected official.
Oh, did they?
Well, just to our elected official. And so this is just a discussion of, I'm fairly certain that Representative Gamba is supportive of this because of his work while he was here on these same issues. So it was just, for staff, it was a little less concerning. It's not that you shouldn't track it. It's just whether or not you get to them quickly is a different concern.
I mean, you've already put the work into this, Mayor, which I appreciate. And it's something that aligns with our values and the work that we've done in the past. And I don't know that the opposition ever says, no, we should go easy on the goalie. You know, I think we should go ahead and put it through.
Well, and so if the ask, I'd forgotten that the LOC ask was for us to reach out to our reps. So I addressed it to the committee, but do we send it to Senator Taylor and Representative Gamba? Is that what we think?
That was the request at the time from the LLC. But you also could, yeah, exactly.
All right.
So do we have unanimous? Perfect, thank you.
So this one's going to who?
This one's going to go to the committee. We're going to CC our rep.
And our senator.
And because we have everyone who's here tonight unanimously supporting this, we're just going to write from the city council instead of having everybody's signature lines.
Okay.
And that'll speed it up a little bit.
So no signature lines, but unanimously from city council.
Yeah. The mayor can sign on behalf of everyone.
Yeah, you can do my electronic signature to get it in there tomorrow.
I can do that. I know, did you say this one had a hearing?
It's had two, actually.
It had two, but does it have one coming?
No.
Because I think they changed a list. You can only submit within 48 hours of a scheduled hearing. So I'll have to look into how we get it to the committee outside of a hearing.
I mean, you could just email the committee. It's not going to be in the hearing record then, but I mean, it still can go to the committee.
Okay.
Yeah. Chair Helm, you know. I mean, you could send it to all members. They'll give you a line and, you know, on the hearing page of who all the members are. Okay, with that, I did have some updates from some legislation stuff that I've talked to people about in recent days. One is I understand the REACH code is dead for this term. So the REACH code, for those of you who don't really know, you probably heard it mentioned, but the REACH code was an effort to have sort of two options or two levels of state building code, have the governing option for every city, for everywhere, but then allow those cities that wanted to have a more climate friendly, aggressively climate active sort of building code to have a higher option. And former Mayor Gamba and former Councilor Heisey put in a lot of work on that. There was a big group of people. It was considered in 2021, I guess, and it did not pass, and it was then the subject of a working group where the unions and the utilities and the home builders and everybody came to the table. And there's still enough opposition to it that apparently nobody is putting it forward again this year. So that's unfortunate, but it does take one thing off of my list of things to watch. One of the things I had hoped there was going on, and today, as Scott pointed out, is the deadline, so unfortunately it's not going on, is some rail safety legislation. If you're watching what's going on in Ohio, it's pretty bad, and the railroads get away with a lot of ineffective cleanup and a lot of, anyway. Regulating the railroad is not something, it's something that is best done at the federal level, but there are some things that states can do, and Washington has actually been more proactive than Oregon has been in trying to regulate railroad safety, but there are no bills on that either this term, and so that is something that's not moving, which is unfortunate, because I do think Ohio needs to be a wake-up call for places like us that have a railroad bifurcating our town, and that carries hazardous stuff. So beyond that, I met with Bob. What's Bob's last name? Bob from the Oregon Citizens Utility Board. He's the head watchdog.
He's with the CUB.
CUB. What's his last name though?
Well, you asked, now I can't remember.
Okay.
I will get.
It's okay.
No, it's Bob Jenks.
Bob Jenks. That's right, Bob Jenks. He is like sort of the lead utility watchdog here in the state, and he gave me a bunch of stuff on different bills to watch, but one in particular that is some of them aren't really moving and they're not clear what's going to happen with them, but one of them that is really moving is that's his number one priority, and it does have a hearing on March 1st, is HB 3152, the Utility Customer Protection Bill. Well, I'm not going to try and read this whole sheet, but it empowers utility regulators to be more proactive in ensuring utility investments are consistent with climate regulations and programs. It protects utility customers by shifting financial risk and cost of expanding the fossil fuel system to gas companies and their investors. It's sort of a climate as well as consumer protection kind of a bill. So that's 3152, hearing next on March 1st, which is Wednesday, I believe, of next week. And then there was one other one. Broadband. So there is a bill, HB 3201, to maximize federal broadband funding, aligning Oregon law to maximize federal broadband funding. It's a bill that he's very passionate about, but it really does, I did talk to him about sort of what it would cover and what it would help, and it really is about serving areas, particularly rural areas that don't have broadband now. It's not going to really change or affect the calculation of the study the city did last year on, the idea of municipal broadband. And he was pretty knowledgeable about municipal broadband, and he was an interesting person to talk to about that. But, he would love support for 3201, but it is not a bill that's really going to mean much for us here in Milwaukie. Okay, I think that might be it for me.
I do have a very brief one, if I can just add it. So several of the city managers and a couple of council members have been made aware that ODOT had developed a list of closures for sidewalks. Two of the sidewalks that are on that, they did not talk to any staff, from what we can tell from any of the cities. So two of the sidewalks on that list are of concern to Steve Adams. We are currently building improvements to make those those crossings more effective. And so in one case, we're actually well into design. I think we're at 90% design for that, maybe 60% design for that crossing. I am going to, from the staff perspective, be sending in a letter to ODOT expressing our concern that we have not been communicated to, that we do have concerns about the closure of those two. I'm going to send it to you all just for information so that if you get any questions, because we have 3 weeks till the next meeting, I just want to make sure that we address this from the staff side. And we'll just keep you posted on what we learn.
So are these temporary closures?
No, these are permanent.
Permanent?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Liability is my guess, but because we actually haven't had a conversation with ODOT, we can't tell you for certain. And so we want to have those dialogues with them about these two specific crossings. Now, this was a list of probably 400 or 500 crossings. This was not.
It was 180.
Oh, it felt huge. Most of them are in Portland. So we were a couple and drop in the bucket, but I do appreciate the mayor and other city managers bringing it to our attention.
It was an article out of the Willamette Week, I think, that was making the rounds on Facebook and stuff. And there's some people pretty agitated about it here in Milwaukie. And there is some link. I will send the article around to everyone. There is some link for commenting to ODOT. And so some people are commenting directly to ODOT. But I mean, should we even invite ODOT to come here?
We can, but my guess is they just set off a firestorm and that we have 2 closures compared to 100 and.
Yeah, well, we have 4 on the list.
We had 3, according to Steve, that were inside the city boundaries. There was 1 that was outside of the city boundaries, but affected city properties.
Right. Rusk Road. Yeah. It's not in the city boundaries, but it's right near where we're having a big housing development built. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm just flabbergasted. The
So are all
state
the other
transportation department wants to close sidewalks,
crossings.
crossings, sorry.
Crossings because they feel they're dangerous. Yeah.
And they don't have the resources in their mind to make them safe. But I believe we are investing in those crossings, and so that's.
So it's just the crossings, not the sidewalks
It
leading
is.
to the crossings, okay?
But it is still concerning. It's concerning they didn't talk to surrounding cities. This was all in Region 1. So we haven't heard what happened in the other regions.
Do you know if those crosswalks are also crosswalks that are in violation of ADA standards?
They may be. I don't have that information today. Steve Adams was looking at it.
Okay. I'm not convinced that the liability therein falls away from ODOT just by closing the crosswalk.
It's a good question.
An interesting approach, but I don't know that it's that effective in terms of liability.
Well, and we see, I mean, I certainly see driving 99E to our south where there are bigger gaps between lights that people are even, people cross in the middle way, between lights. And so to close the actual crosswalks at signals does seem to me kind of crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
I do have just one quick legislative FYI. I had the opportunity to provide testimony this afternoon on HJR 20. And I'm not proposing that we add that to the city tracker, but I just want to make sure that folks know that's it proposes an amendment to the Oregon Constitution to lower the voting age from 18 to 16 years of age. And I bring that up because I think maybe others might be interested. There is a 48-hour window, in which you can provide your own testimony, written testimony after the hearing. That was at 1:00, so the clock started 1:00 this afternoon. But in light of all of the amazing students who were here with us and the fact that probably every single one of them should be voting, I wanted to bring that up in case anybody else is inspired to drop a line.
Never heard of an HJR. That's a House Joint Resolution or something?
Yes,
I guess. Okay. Great. Anything else on legislation? Okay. All right. So we have one letter going, one letter on hold, and yeah. And if you have pet legislation, watch it over the next couple of weeks because we don't meet again for a while. All right, anything else? Let's see, do we have council reports on any meetings or anything? Anybody got anything to report?
No, I sent around a report on the C4 meeting. So I'm sure everyone had an opportunity to read every word of that.
As I was going to bed last night.
I can see you avoiding eye contact there, Council President.
It was a bedtime story for Rio.
Land use. Oh, lolling. Well, I did have a chance to have a meeting with Councilor Brett Sherman from Happy Valley, and he is the appointee for C4 to the MPAC, which is the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, and then I'll serve as the alternate to that group. So the agreement that is within Clackamas County that the smaller cities both attend those meetings. So I'll have some updates from those meetings, for your free time. Coming to an inbox near you.
Awesome, well, and congratulations, good job on being a new person on the committee and being the alternate, that's awesome.
I won land use bingo.
You want land use bingo. I guess I will throw in here that the city manager sent us all the thing from PGE about their new rate case where they're seeking a very sizable increase in rates this year. She and I had a meeting with, I guess she's the CEO of PGE, last Friday, and she will be coming to talk to us at some point this spring about their rate case and why they need this large increase that they have asked for. So, so stay tuned.
I move to adjourn.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.